Hello everyone, welcome to another AMA hosted by Unicast. I'm Benoit and today we are diving into a topic that plays a huge role in shaping career in Web3. It's networking. So whether you are looking for your first opportunity, growing your project, or expanding your influence in the space, having the right connection is always the key. So joining us today is Shu from Offchain Global, a global Web3 event organization. They have built an incredible community by bringing together professionals, founders, and builders from the industry. So, Shu, thanks a lot for joining us today. We are really excited to have you with us. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks so much for inviting me to chat about this with you guys, and thanks to the Unicast team as well. Um, Let me just give a brief introduction of Offchain Global.
Yeah,
So we are a Web3 specific community that's global, and we are focused on IRL, so in real life meetups. Currently, we have about 60 to 70 chapters that are running and active around the world. I'm personally based here in Asia at the moment. And basically, each chapter has their own local community, and they would organize in person meetups every 1 to 2 months or so. And we also collaborate with a lot of um, builders and projects of various sizes to drive our communities to their events. So, for example, at the Consensus Hong Kong conference next week,
yeah.
we have partnered with a lot of different projects to bring our community to their side events and even the main event.
Yeah, we'll be as well on our side in Hong Kong next week. So we really
Mm-hmm,
appreciate what you guys are doing. It's bringing a lot of value in the space. On our side as well at Unicast, we are really into community. We are building the first Web3 job board fully integrated with Telegram, making it easier to discover, apply, and share Web3 jobs. We have for now more than 120 projects we are working with and have a quickly growing community of plus 20K professionals. And so today's session with Shu will speak about how to build a personal network in Web3. So we'll explore why networking is so important in Web3, the best way
mm-hmm.
to build and maintain meaningful connections, and how to leverage events, online communities, and personal branding to grow network. So as always, this AMA will be recorded, so don't worry if you miss any part of it. Feel free to drop your question in the chat on our community channel or on X directly. So yeah, let's go right ahead. So Shu, thanks again. Can you explain a bit how you started your journey into Web3?
Sure. I actually started my journey to Web3 through a scam. uh, not that surprising. This was back in 2017. I remember it was October, and I'm a big baseball fan, and I was in Los Angeles at the time. I grew up in LA. So my favorite baseball team, the Dodgers, made it to the World Series, which is the finals, for the first time since 1988. So I really wanted a chance to go see one of the games. So I saw a classified ad advertising to sell a ticket, but you have to pay in Bitcoin. So I, I got an account on Coinbase and bought some Bitcoin. I sent it to the guy, and then he disappeared. So that was my first introduction to Bitcoin and to crypto back in 2017. But
Okay.
I stuck around, and I I didn't really get into it until after the pandemic hit in 2020. But between that time, 2017 to 2020, I still had my Bitcoin that I didn't give all the Bitcoin to the scammer, so I had some left. And I saw that Bitcoin go down and up. I said, okay, this is pretty interesting. So I kind of um, got really into it after the pandemic in 2020.
And so when did Offchain Global really start? Are you guys covering
Hmm.
the whole world, your chapter, or is it mostly for now Asia and Europe, or just focusing on APAC for now?
So Offchain started off as crypto drinks. Basically, it was a bunch of foreigners who were living in Shanghai at the time, and they were all interested in crypto. This was 2017, going back there, and they were all interested in crypto. So they decided to get together at a bar I would think it was on a Wednesday night, um, every Wednesday night to talk about their bags, the latest in crypto, and it was sort of the ICO craze at the time.
Yeah.
And that kind of spanned out as some of the guys moved to other cities. They would start their own sort of little offline group of mostly crypto bros, I guess. And they would form different chapters. It just kind of started organically that way. But yeah, like I said, we're a global community. Like I'm based in Asia, so I'm more familiar with our Asia chapters. But we also have a thriving community in the US, for example, and we're spanning out to Latin America and to Africa. We also have a strong communities in Europe as well.
That's great. So, of course, building a network is always important, not only in Web3. But do you think it's even more so important to build a network in Web3 compared to more traditional industries?
Yeah, I think in Web3, it's a lot more flexible and compared to sort of TradFi or traditional industries. I think in Web3, it's even more important to meet some people in offline settings because, if you're in Web3 for any amount of time, especially this year, the meme coin craze, it's really easy to get tunnel vision and sort of get sucked into this kind of like boom bust cycle, pump and dump cycle. So going out there, going to conferences or going to your local events, which is what we're trying to foster, allows you to meet people in person, establish some tighter relationships, because it's hard to sort of like to figure out who you can trust or who you can't trust. But
Yeah,
for me, it's always easier to trust someone that you've met in person, that you see regularly, like, in person physically at an event, versus someone that you're just kind of seeing online or they're anonymous. You see their PFPs, like you don't even know if
exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
real person, especially nowadays we have the AI agents coming up, right? So I think pretty soon we won't even really know that they're real people behind these projects. So I think it's even more important to sort of like develop your network through real people.
Yeah. Um, Especially in this industry, it can be harder to connect when people are using pseudonym and NFT profile pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there are also other major differences when networking in Web2 compared to Web3? I guess it's more
Mm,
about juggling, maybe more remote connection, because not everyone can travel from the US to Asia for big event, crypto event.
right, right. Yeah, because I came out of Web2. I worked in e-commerce. I worked in sort of Groupon. I worked at Groupon actually. Um, so now I kind of think back to my Web2 days. There wasn't really too many networking opportunities, or it wasn't necessary to really go out there and network, especially if you're not in a sales job. I mean, obviously it's different if you're in a sales or a BD position. But I think in Web3, because the industry and all the projects, they roll around so fast. Like their like boom bust cycles go so fast that you always kind of like, if you want to stay a long time or have any kind of long standing career in Web3, you need to be on the lookout. So unless you're a founder with a great concept, a great idea, and you're ready to dedicate your life for years to your own project, um, I mean, if you're just somebody that's trying to navigate this space, trying to figure out all the ins and outs, I think it's more important to get yourself out there, to be exposed to everything that's out there, because changes happen very, very quickly in this
Hmm.
industry versus like any other industry, right? Change, like right now, I think we have half-hour cycles with all of these like, tens of thousands of coins and projects coming out.
Yeah. And so for someone who would be new in Web3 and crypto, what would you say is the best way to start building a first network of people
Hmm.
also working in this field?
Come to an off-chain event. Well, I mean, the beauty of Offchain is that if you live in a bigger city, because right now we're currently in a lot of big cities, you can kind of start following us, join our local groups, and if there's any events happening, try to come to meet some people, and that's how you can get started. Or you can start your own chapter. So we're a nonprofit organization that's open to anyone, everyone. So if you find that there's no sort of community, Web3 community that's meeting regularly in your own city, you can come talk to me or talk to one of our other core contributors, core founders, or anyone that you meet from Offchain to direct you. You can start your own chapter, and we will offer you support. We mainly would use LinkedIn, for example, to find people who live in your city. And then we have like a few volunteer colleagues that would help drive people to your event. All you need to do is to put yourself out there, basically find a coffee shop or a bar on a weekday where there's not too much traffic and you don't have to pay any money to use the venue. And you can get started that way. That's how I got started.
That's great. Do you also have some tips for people who want to maybe start a bit with Telegram, Discord, or X to build a network, and who are not yet so
Mm,
much engaged to go like to a physical event? Because I guess for some people it can be a bit daunting at first.
right. Yeah. So for each of our local chapters, I'm talking about off-chain, we have a local chapter like Telegram group or WhatsApp, depending on the geographical region. And let's say within China, people use WeChat. So regardless of the actual messaging platform, you can find whatever city that's closest to you that has an off-chain chapter, and you can just check them out on our website, offchain.social, offchain.social. And you can find a chapter near you. Get in touch, join the Telegram group. I believe all the Telegram group like links are also listed on the website, and then start from there.
So you think it's always better to attend in-person event when it's come to
Mm.
making network?
Yeah, for me, that's been the most productive, the most valuable, um, because because I founded the Beijing chapter because I was living in Beijing, China at the time. This was back in like mid 2021. So I had been working in crypto for about half a year at that time, and I wanted to expand my network. I went to a couple of conferences in China, but I wanted to sort of meet the people, my fellow like Web3 cohorts in Beijing. So I just basically inherited a group that was running before by somebody that organized one event in Beijing before. And then, yeah, I just found a restaurant and set a time and a date and sent out a link in the group. And I think 10 people showed up and we started from there.
Do you have some?
And I would say, like 3 of those 10 people who came to that first meeting are some
Yeah.
of my best friends right now, because we were able to connect through being in crypto. And there's just so much to talk about because, um, we're all very passionate about this industry.
And how about for example, people who'd want to join but don't have like any knowledge in either Web3, crypto, or
Mm.
blockchain? Would you have any networking tips or how to get integrated into this kind of community for people who are just starting from
Just
scratch
starting out.
or just curious about the space?
I think and this is kind of the advice I would give to newcomers who come to the event and saying that, hey, what can I do to get started? Because I got started at the previous cycle or even 2 cycles ago when things were a lot more innocent, I guess.
Yeah.
I started by reading books, right? I read the Bitcoin Standard by Seyfuddin Amus. Um, these are the two things that I recommend. Learn about Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the OG coin and obviously the biggest asset within our space. Learn about Bitcoin, learn about the technology through the Bitcoin Standard, through the Michael Saylor video series. You can search for it on YouTube. So it's called the What is Money series with Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove. So
Mm.
these two things can help you get like actually, if you go through all of this material, um, it might take you a week or two to kind of like read the book and then go through all the videos. But once you get through this material, you'll have a very solid foundation of Bitcoin, of blockchain technology, and sort of the evolution that comes like after that, like Ethereum, Solana, and now all these meme coins. And so you don't kind of jump into the fire, like you jump, because I meet a lot of young people, they jump straight into the meme coin sort of fire, right?
Yeah.
And then they lose a lot of money. And they're like, hey, why am I, why am I getting grifted, or why did I fall for this kind of scam? Um, how do I, because I don't want people to learn that way, even though that might be one of the more effective ways to learn is by losing your money. But obviously that's not the best way to learn. Maybe it is, I don't know. Because I've lost a lot of money too, and I'm, supposedly someone that's been around for a while. So each person has their own preferences, but yeah,
Yeah.
for me, it's learning about the fundamentals first, so that you have some knowledge that you can share when you go to an event and you start meeting people and networking. And people ask you, so what do you do? Like, what are you interested in? Are you an investor? Are you a degen? Are you blah blah blah? Then you can kind of figure out, hey, no, I'm just learning. I just came into this industry. I'm a newcomer, but I'm more interested in this aspect. Then you can
I
start
also,
digging
yeah,
deeper.
very
Yeah.
recommend the Bitcoin Standard. It's a really good book. And so I
Mm-hmm.
guess, Shu, you are often traveling for crypto events, whether it is maybe in Europe, Dubai, or Hong Kong. How do you usually maintain or strengthen relationship with people that
Mm.
you meet in another continent? So let's say if you cannot see them like once per year in person, do you feel that it's a bit more of a struggle to maintain connection?
Yeah. I mean, especially with people who don't live in your city or your country, it's harder to sort of like keep those relationships alive. One of the ways, at least for me, is to attend conferences because a lot of my better friends that I've made in this industry are also conference goers. So going to conferences is kind of a way to meet friends that you've met before, that you kind of develop a bond with, and to sort of like catch up on those relationships and then see what each other are doing. Because I think what I love about Web3 is that everybody is doing multiple things at the same time, right? You could be working on your own project, you're building something, but at the same time, you're invested in meme coins 1, 2, 3. So there's always a lot of topics that you can discuss and share. And I think investing together or even losing money on a meme coin or on a shit coin together helps strengthens those relationships. For example, like I'm in a group um, with Mark who introduced us to each other, right? It's called Wrecked Survivors, and all of us Web3ers who've been around for a while, we've gotten wrecked through some way or another. So that's a good sort of connection amongst us that we can use to build those relationships. Like I said, not necessarily the most comfortable
Yeah,
way to build a
yeah.
relationship, but oftentimes the least comfortable experiences drive you together, right? Because that's a very kind of valuable experience.
And so what do you think for the people who would want to organize as well or start their own Offchain Global chapters? What makes a
Mm-hmm.
Web3 event successful in terms of networking? Like, are you trying to mix match
Mm,
people when they come to your event? Because some people maybe are more shy at the beginning to directly go speak to a large crowd or a group. Do you have
right.
some tips?
Yeah. I mean, when I first started, for example, our first event was 10 people. Our second event was only 3 people. So, I would say that when you first get started, you wouldn't get like too big an audience, which actually makes it easier
Hmm.
because like, if you're not too comfortable socializing, then like if you suddenly go into an event with so many people, you might have some kind of shock factor. But if there's not that many people, there's like 5 to 10 people, then you can get to know each other person there um, closer. Like you get to know them better. You have more time to spend with them, and you can develop relationships that way. But I think it's important to build like a core group of guys uh, who like attending these events, like coming together every once in a while, once every 1 2 months, to kind of catch up on what each other is doing. Like if you don't communicate online that much, and it's also a good way to get offline, right? So that's why we're called off chain, because most of the time we spend online, especially in this industry. So I think that's why these conferences are so popular and people are willing to travel far distances to go to conferences, is because it's always great to see people in person and to interact with them and socialize and build those bonds in person.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, I think it's very important to have, like you said, a core network of people, because there are a lot of community in crypto or Web3 that are not open to the public. But for example, you get
Mm-hmm.
added to a Telegram group or you get added to a WhatsApp group, and those are usually the places that you find the most value. So yeah, really encourage people to, if it's possible, meet other passionate people from the space in-person event. Talk with as many people as you can, and usually it's starting from there that then you'll get even deeper in more communities online. And as well, you often stumble onto the same people. For example, if you go to Dubai or to Hong Kong or to Singapore, you often find
Mm-hmm.
the same crowd. So it's still easy to keep in touch even if you cannot travel too often or too far.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so to talk with the about another subject, what do you think is the biggest challenges people usually face when they try to grow their network into this space?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just to keep up with the number of people that you're meeting, because like just using myself as an example, I meet a lot of people and then we would add each other on Telegram and then we take a selfie so that we remember what each other look like. But then afterwards, if either of the people forget to to keep up or to update, or to say hello once in a while,
Yeah.
that relationship kind of goes silent, right? So I think having sort of a disciplined approach going through your contact list, because with Telegram you can, for example, create different folders that you can sort different people in. So, for example, I have different folders based on geographical region, based on countries,
Oh,
based on
really?
the
Okay.
communities that I'm in. For example, off-chain, like I have a folder for like main off-chain people, for example. I have a folder. I can just go through my folders real quick. So I have a builder folder. I have an event organizer folder. I have off-chain. I have investors, media, potential speakers, potential sponsors, and different ecosystems. For example, Tongue, for example, Sui or Solana. So, and one contact can be in multiple of these folders because, like I said, people in Web3, they usually have multiple roles, right?
Yeah. So you
So
try to
it's
aggregate
less,
all of your
yeah,
conversation and contact into Telegram or
yeah. Like Telegram is definitely my main source of like messaging for Web3 people.
Yeah, and yeah, I do agree. It's a good tip is to when you meet someone new at an event is to take directly a selfie with them because
Hmm.
I did stumble into that. For example, you start chatting with someone at an event, and then a few weeks after, you don't remember actually who it is because you didn't take a selfie with them, and they only have an NFT profile picture. So that's a
Right.
very good tip, and as well to add them into different Telegram groups. And it's as well
Yeah.
very easy
So
for conversation
yeah.
to go silent, right? If you don't talk with the person for 2, 3 months, it's very easy, yeah, to completely lose the contact with them.
Yeah, and you take a selfie, but you can also kind of jot down a note of sort of the dates and the location where you met the person. So I think, this is more of a kind of human memory tweak because I think our brains only have capacities for like 200 people or something. So once you go over that amount, it's hard for you to remember a person if you don't have like different anchors. So for me, the anchors is the person's face, the
Yeah.
location where we met, and kind of the date. So I know, okay, I met this person at Consensus, or I met this person at Token 2049, or, you know, at least the country and the event that you met them. Then you kind of like, okay. And then you sort them into these like different folders. So you kind of know what they're into or which ecosystem they're in. So then when you say hello, say, hey, how are you doing? Um, just wanted to catch up to see how you're doing. Like how's your project? How's like working in Sui or how's your Solana bags or something like that.
Yes,
And then to
writing a
start the
message in the same conversation, especially when you are, for example, meeting 60 people in the span of 2 days at
yeah
Token
yeah
2029, for example. And so, on another subject, what do you think is the best way to build trust in an industry such as Web3, where there is still a lot of people anonym or behind pseudonym?
I think you build trust by walking the talk, right? If you're going to say something, say you're going to do something, whether it's for somebody or whether it's something that you're building and then, you talk it up, say, hey, this is going to be the greatest project in the world. But if you don't follow through, then that kind of destroys the trust that people have in you. Or if people don't really know you, it's hard to build trust that way. At least that's sort of my experience. Going through a lot of like projects that went downhill or went kaput,
Yeah.
during my Web3 journey. And like right now, I like this year, I started being more active online, especially on X, on Twitter. So I think, so I read something, I joined kind of a group that helps you sort of like, if you want to increase your X presence, kind of sharing different tips and stuff. To be like, when you're a small account, it's important to reply often and early to the accounts that you follow. So for example, I have maybe 50 accounts of people that I respect, that I admire, that I find a lot of value in their content. So every day, every morning, I would spend like half an hour. Um, it's kind of part of my routine now. Half an hour seeing their latest tweets, and if they're interesting
Oh,
to
okay.
me, then reply something mindful, right? Not just say, yeah, that's great, or like, that sucks, or I don't agree with that, or reply with something mindful, and then they would like it if it's something that brought value to them, or they saw a certain reply and say, hey, that's pretty cool, so they like it, and that accumulates over time. And then after a while, they kind of recognize you. They like your replies, more often. You can try to approach them, like, try to send them a DM, or if they kind of like publicize their whereabouts, I'd say, hey, I'm going to be in Consensus Hong Kong. Say, okay, cool. Like, would you be open to meeting, or like, which events are you going to? Like to meet you in person. So that's how you kind of like starting from an online perspective to develop relationships with people that you respect, that you want to meet.
Yeah. I, Another thing as well is sometimes it can be a bit daunting as well for newcomers into the space. Like, for example, a lot of events, such as in Singapore, Token 2049, are
Mm-hmm.
really expensive for people
Mm-hmm.
who want to come like personally. So one tip, yeah, is to, for example, find a list of side event and to only sign up to side event. I know a lot of people actually who travel abroad to go to event, but they don't go to the main event. They only go to the side event. And
Mm-hmm.
one positive with that is because most of the side event already have a specific topic. So usually the list of attendance is curated. And as well, most of them are free. So you can actually get most of the value, and if not even more, than going to the main event if you only go to the side event, which are free. And usually there is such a long list. I guess it will be the case as well in Hong Kong for consensus. It was the case in Token. And
Mm-hmm.
usually it's like that as well.
Yeah. Like obviously there's going to be costs involved in buying your transportation and accommodation. But once if you're able to cover those costs, then you can just go to side events all day, right? And the side events usually have some kind of food and drink. So you don't like if you're just going to side events all day, you don't really have to pay for any food or drink, and you get to meet a lot of people and um, build your network that way.
Yeah, and usually
Right? You
afterwards
don't have to go
you can go
to
party as
yeah
well.
yeah go party. You don't have to go to an expensive city like Hong Kong or Singapore.
Yeah,
You can go to conferences because there's conferences everywhere now. There's a lot of conferences in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, um, Indonesia. So
yeah,
the plane ticket might not be very much cheaper, but the accommodations will definitely be cheaper compared to Hong Kong or Singapore, and you can get a lot more value.
yeah. That's true. Um, I think we are nearing already this the end of this AMA. Do
Yeah,
you have
that is quick.
any last tips or piece of networking advice for people looking to like start a network in this space or expand their connections?
So my main advice is just to get yourself out there. Um, I know it's more comfortable to be online all the time and try to establish relationships that way. But I think for me, the best relationships that I built have all been coming from events that I've attended or I've organized myself, and then meeting someone at these events, and then developing a relationship, starting with a face-to-face meeting.
That's a
Because I
great
feel
finishing.
it's more challenging the other way around. If you meet someone online and you don't really know who they are, and
Exactly. Yeah.
then I don't know too many people that I've met first online and then offline. But
Okay.
I hope to meet you guys. You guys will be the exception in Hong Kong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we actually haven't met yet, I think, but I've been to
Yeah.
multiple off-chain event in Singapore, and usually they are quite crowded. And it's always a good place to make
Hmm.
a new connection. So we'll share everything, all the links from you guys. So that was a great discussion. A huge thanks to you, Shu, for sharing your tips on networking and the event space in Web3. So, guys, if you enjoyed this AMA, let's stay connected. Do follow us on X for update on future AMAs, career resources, and insight. We also have obviously the Telegram channel if you want to find your next opportunity into Web3 at t.me/unicastjobs. And do connect with Shu and Offchain Global. So we'll share his socials for anyone looking to connect, as well as a list. I guess you guys have a page with all the chapters that people can look into.
Yeah. So for Offchain, our Twitter is at Offchain Global, one word, and our website is offchain.social. And yeah, you can follow our main account, or you can follow myself, and feel free to DM me if you have any questions.
Perfect. Okay, thanks everyone. Keep an eye out for new upcoming AMA and announcement. And thank you again for joining us. See you at the next AMA. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks very much.